Isabella. Chapter 1. Shadows over St. Crimson. I walked the labyrinthine passageways of St. Crimson High School, my presence barely noticed, a shadow among shadows. My 17 years, as falsely claimed by my student records, belied the ancient soul that resided within me. My skin was as pale as moonlight on snow, and my hair as dark as the void between stars. But it was my eyes, emerald orbs that sparkled with an age-old profundity, that truly revealed my vampiric nature. In the library's silence, my sanctuary of dusty volumes and forgotten lore, I lay ensconced amidst ancient leather-bound tomes. The amber glow of the solitary lamp on my table flickered, casting a warm hue over inscriptions of arcane knowledge, each word a secret yearning to be unraveled. The clock tower's haunting chimes signaled the descent into night, and with it, whispers of a heinous murder reached my ears. In a nearby hamlet, a life had been extinguished under the cloak of darkness, their essence drained to the last crimson drop. Fear and suspicion towards creatures like me, the supernatural beings living secretly among humans, began to seed panic in the community. I understood the gravity of this act. It threatened the delicate truce between our worlds, a balance I had sworn to maintain. With the resolve of one who has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, I closed my ancient text, my mind alight with inquiry. The game of shadows and subterfuge was afoot, and I knew I must navigate it skillfully to prevent the unraveling of the fragile peace. As twilight enveloped the town, I stepped out from my solitude. The town, with its sepia-toned structures and cobbled streets, was suffused with fear and desperation. My vampiric grace allowed me to move unseen, a spectral observer amid the bustle of life. I sensed the collective anxiety that permeated the air, as palpable as the scent of wood smoke. I delved into the heart of the community, unraveling the threads of the narrative woven around the tragedy. Lily, the victim, once a vibrant presence, had left a profound void in the town's fabric. The raw grief of the townspeople weighed heavily on me as I moved among them, their faces marked by confusion and dread. The constables, their brows furrowed in frustration, patrolled in search of elusive answers. Faced with such turmoil, my decision was swift and resolute. My unique existence, straddling the line between humanity and eternal night, endowed me with a perspective and abilities beyond human understanding. I resolved to become the silent guardian who would trace the footsteps of the unknown assailant and unravel this tapestry of death to bring the truth to light. With the moon as my silent witness, I set forth on a path fraught with peril. I knew I must act swiftly to quell the rising panic and bridge the growing chasm between my kind and the humans. My heightened senses, keen intellect, and ancient knowledge would guide me through this labyrinth of lies and fear. Under the watchful gaze of the stars, I embarked on a journey that would lead me through the heart of darkness, towards the faint glimmer of truth hidden within. Chapter 2. Veils of Dusk and Desperation. As twilight draped its cloak over the town, I, Isabella Blackthorne, stepped out of my solitude and into the human domain. The sepia-toned structures and cobbled streets of the town were steeped in a palpable sense of desperation and fear. Moving through the sea of humanity with my vampiric grace, I remained unseen, an apparition in the midst of life's bustle. The night air, heavy with the scent of wood smoke, carried with it a collective anxiety that clung to the cobblestones like a morning mist. I listened to the town's whispers, a haunting chorus that spoke of a tragic murder. Lily, the victim, had been a vibrant part of this community, her warm spirit now extinguished. Her absence left a deep void, the townspeople's grief as raw and palpable as the cold night enveloping us. Walking among them, I saw faces marked by confusion and dread. The constables, their brows furrowed in frustration, patrolled vigilantly, their lanterns cutting through the darkness in search of elusive answers. The town was on the brink of chaos, fear leading to wild accusations against those of us who walk the night. Faced with this turmoil, I made my decision with swift resolution. My unique existence, bridging humanity and the eternal night, endowed me with a perspective and abilities beyond those of the human detectives. I resolved to become the shadow that would trace the footsteps of the unknown assailant, the silent guardian who would unravel this tapestry of death and bring the truth to light. With the moon silently witnessing from above, my resolve solidified. I would use my heightened senses, keen intellect, and ancient knowledge to navigate the labyrinth of lies and fear. The stakes were clear. I had to quell the rising panic and bridge the growing divide between my kind and the humans. And so, under the watchful gaze of the stars, I set forth on a path fraught with peril, a journey that would lead me through the heart of darkness, towards the faint glimmer of truth hidden within. Chapter 3. The Cipher of Shadows. The night seemed to pause, holding its breath as I, Isabella Blackthorne, approached the dwelling where tragedy had struck. This house, once alive with Lily's everyday joys and sorrows, now stood as a grim scene of chaos. The slightly ajar door seemed like a silent scream, inviting me into a world where shadows played tricks on the edge of my preternatural vision. Inside, the room's disarray spoke to me. Furniture was upended, a vase shattered, its floral contents strewn across the floor, creating a stark contrast against the austere floorboards. Amidst this chaos, a serene spot marked where Lily had been found. My senses, honed through centuries of existence hidden from the world, scanned the scene, searching for clues invisible and inaudible to most. My gaze was drawn to the esoteric symbols etched into the ground. These sigils, relics of a forgotten epoch, resonated with the arcane knowledge I had accumulated over the ages. They were not mere decorations, they were a potent language, a code from a time when such inscriptions could bend reality to the will of those who knew how to wield them. I knew these markings were neither the desperate acts of a mere mortal nor the territorial claim of a common fiend. They spoke of a ritual, their very presence at the scene hinting at motives deeply rooted in the supernatural. The air itself seemed to vibrate with the residue of otherworldly energies, suggesting that this murder was but a shadow of something far larger and more ominous. My mind, as sharp as a scythe under the harvest moon, began to weave together the disparate threads of this mystery. The victim, the signs of struggle, the ancient symbols. Each element was a piece of a larger puzzle that bridged the chasm between worlds, a riddle that beckoned me to solve. With each revelation, the mystery grew more intricate, and I realized I was not merely uncovering a crime, but unraveling a thread that could disrupt the clandestine existence of my kind. The truth, hidden within these unearthly clues, lay just beyond my grasp. With the weight of history on my shoulders and a chill of uncertainty in my heart, I stepped deeper into the labyrinth, prepared to confront the darkness that awaited me in my pursuit of the truth. Chapter 4. The Enigma of Elias. The village, nestled in the shadow of dark woods, was a hive of whispered fears and speculations. Moving among the townsfolk, I felt their trepidation like a tangible pulse in the air. My presence, shrouded in mystery, mirrored the enigma of my quest. As I navigated through their emotions, I encountered Elias, a striking newcomer whose aura resonated with secrets and silence, much like my own. Elias stood out starkly, a lighthouse in the fog of uncertainty that had enveloped the town. His height was commanding, and his eyes, a startling blue, held a depth that seemed to echo the vastness of the ocean. There was an unmistakable otherness about him, a dissonance unfamiliar to the villagers, but all too familiar to me. As I approached Elias, he turned to face me, his eyes like fragments of the sky captured in human form. There was a stillness about him, a quiet that seemed to stretch the moment. "Good evening," I began, my voice a gentle intrusion into the silence. "I couldn't help but notice you're new to our town. I'm Isabella Blackthorne." He nodded slightly, his gaze unwavering.
Elias.
He replied succinctly.
Yes, I'm not from around here.
I sensed a guardedness in his tone, a careful restraint. "This town is not accustomed to strangers," I said, my eyes searching his. "Especially those who arrive amidst such troubled times." Elias looked away briefly, then back at me.
Trouble has a way of following some more than others,
he remarked cryptically. I tilted my head, considering his words. "Are you implying you're acquainted with trouble, Elias?" I asked, a hint of curiosity lacing my tone. He gave a small, almost imperceptible smile.
Aren't we all in some way?
He replied. His voice was calm, but there was a depth to it that hinted at stories untold. "Perhaps, but some more than others," I said, gently pressing. "This town is reeling from a tragedy. A darkness has settled here." Elias's expression remained unreadable.
Darkness is a matter of perspective, Isabella. Sometimes it's necessary to see through it to understand the light.
His words were enigmatic, yet they resonated with me. "That's a philosophical view. Do you believe you can see through this darkness?" I inquired, intrigued. Elias took a moment before responding.
I believe there are always answers, even if they're shrouded in shadows. Sometimes, it takes a certain kind of sight to find them.
Our conversation felt like a chess game, each word a carefully considered move. "And do you possess this kind of sight?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. He looked at me then, his blue eyes reflecting a world of secrets.
Perhaps. Just as I suspect you do, Isabella.
There was a mutual recognition in that moment, an unspoken understanding that both of us were more than what we appeared. Our initial conversation was a dance of words and insights, a mutual probing of intentions and meanings. I observed the careful cadence of his speech, the measured tone hinting at a mind accustomed to discretion. Though Elias shared little, offering mere breadcrumbs of information, my intuition sensed the layers beneath his words. There was an honesty in his reticence, a reluctance to fully unveil what he knew. The challenge before me was to navigate the labyrinth of Elias's defenses and coax out the knowledge he held. Our conversation was a ballet, each phrase and question a deliberate step to draw him out, to build a trust that might turn the tide of our acquaintance. Under the cover of night, where every shadow seemed an audience, I found myself in a delicate symphony with Elias. Our exchange was a game of revelation and concealment, each of us revealing only in fragments. I knew this dance would be intricate and risky, but the stakes were too high, and the mystery too compelling to step away. With the patience of one who has walked the earth for centuries and the focus of a seasoned hunter, I resolved to peel back the veils that shrouded Elias's secrets. My resolve was unwavering. I knew the truth was there, a gemstone buried within the rock, and it was my purpose to uncover it, to bring it into the light of my investigation. Chapter 5: The Lore of Shadows. I retreated once again to the sacred quiet of St. Crimson's library, my sanctuary amidst chaos. Surrounded by leather-bound tomes of supernatural history, I sought to weave clarity from the confusion shrouding our town. The scent of ancient parchment was a comfort as I delved into the heart of my vast collection, each book a guardian of long-forgotten truths. The lamp's soft glow cast my shadow long and flickering across the aisles as I sifted through the chronicles of my kin, those who tread the fine line between myth and reality. It was here, among these chronicles, that I chanced upon the legend of the Veil Weaver. This entity, as elusive as smoke and as ancient as the stars, was believed to possess the power to bend shadows to its will, ensnaring the minds of the unwary in webs of illusion. The more I read, the more the pieces started to form a disturbing yet enlightening picture. The Veil Weaver was no ordinary vampire, but a master of realities, its motives hidden behind layers of mystery. This creature, a mere whisper in ancient tales, existed in the gray spaces between light and dark, a master of the unseen. Memories of my recent encounter with Elias echoed in my mind. His demeanor, his careful words, and the striking clarity of his blue eyes seemed to strangely resonate with the myth I had uncovered. Was it just a coincidence, or was there a thread of truth woven into this legend that pointed towards him? With the precision of a scholar and the insight of one born to the night, I began to form my own theories. The myth of the Veil Weaver might not be just a fable, but a veiled truth that had manifested before me in the form of Elias. The possibility that he was connected to both the myth and the murder ignited a determination within me. I knew that to solve this mystery, I had to confront Elias again, armed with the knowledge of the Veil Weaver. I had to tread carefully. If Elias was indeed the being from the legend, I might be stepping into a labyrinth with no guarantee of return. Bearing the weight of this newfound knowledge, I prepared myself to uncover the reality hidden beneath the veil of myth.